Evening, everybody. I have a slight change in plans as far as the broadcast goes. I did quite enjoy playing Uplink last week, so I'm glad. I was actually pleasantly surprised at the number of people who were into it. So I was definitely wanting to return to it. I'm returning to it a little bit sooner than I was expecting. And this is because of a very practical, excuse me, very practical reason. I have to be up very early for work tomorrow, and so my original intention was to do the Ace Attorney series both on today, Monday, and Wednesday, but the fact of the matter is that I am expecting to finish around 10, maybe 10:30 in the absolute latest. That gives me less than an hour, really, to do a stream. And I think for Ace Attorney, that's going to frustrate people more than anything. Whereas Uplink is one of those games where I sort of feel that we can afford to do a little bit of time. It's not going to feel the missions are relatively short, so I don't think anybody's going to feel too hard done by with a short broadcast. But of course, my commitment very much is to return to Ace Attorney. I'm really looking forward to it. I really like how people have engaged with that as well. And it really is just a simple question of me not really having time at both ends. I needed to be at work a bit later than I had planned. It took me longer to get home than I was planning. And the fact of the matter is that I do have to be up quite early to make sure that it's not just that I'm up early, but the location I'm going to be going to is a little out of the way for me. And so the challenge with that will be, I need to make sure I have enough buffer time so that if something goes wrong, I'm still going to be able to get to work on time. So, and that's going to be true for the next couple of days. I don't know if Wednesday will be affected by this. So if it comes down to it, I'll try and if I have the time, I'll do Ace Attorney on Wednesday. Failing that, I will do it next week on Monday for sure. And even if I have to break it up over multiple episodes at this point, I know there's interest in that, and I definitely want to support the stuff that people find worth their time. But I don't think it's a hardship to watch Uplink either. In fact, you will notice, at least as soon as I turn on the screen, you will actually probably notice here that there is a second ID. And this is, actually, if you can give me one more second. Okay, grand. Not so sure about. So, actually, I'll mention a couple things. But I made Ron Rockstone over here. That's a Succession reference for those unfamiliar, but it felt like it worked for Rob Robinson. This was just so I could play the game on my own. And I actually did do one of the tricks we talked about before. So I also wanted to just communicate. I was talking about this, and I mentioned how I sort of liked how the game just went straight into sort of the hacking and such. But it does sort of make for a complication in terms of setting up the game. So all of what I said was still true, but if you set up the game and then you go to the opening menu, you do actually get an options menu here. So I actually don't know what game options does, because it seems to be just a big old blank screen. But what may be of more interest would be the graphics options. So, the refresh, color depth, all these make sense. I figured I'd do 1080 just because that's what the stream is at. To me, this is a windowed mode now. I don't see too much value in doing full screen in this case. The only thing is that I really feel like for viewers, it would be nicer to do, there doesn't seem to be a font adjustment. I do note that there are these themes. Presumably you can download other themes, but I don't know if that affects the font size. So I'll try and do my best in terms of communicating what my intentions are and what the game is doing. But we will continue the story of Rob Robinson. There's actually a couple of details that I'd like to follow up on too, so welcome back to your gateway. So a couple things we want to do for setting up first. So we'll make sure that our trace tracker is up. And it doesn't seem like we have any jobs right now. So part of what I'm going to want to do is level up my agent. However, I also want to make sure, actually I'll do one quick thing. We'll take, got my gateway. Sorry, I've remembered the layout for my, other playthrough. I think we should be fine in terms of the access logs, but let's just take a minute to make sure that those are... I mean, while we're warming up. Oh, this is going to take forever. Okay, I'll wait till I have a faster processor to do that. I'll let it run, but it's really just the routing that I'm trying to do. So maybe for those of you not familiar with this game, this is a late 2000s, I think. We talked about the release date, but anyways, this is one of the earlier games by, I don't think it's the first, but definitely it's an earlier one by Introversion Games, who are probably best known for Prison Architect or possibly The Last Starship, which is their current early access game. And it's a fun, I like to think of it as like a Hollywood hacking simulator. So there are some interesting games that have definitely tried to take more of a, I don't want to say realistic view on hacking, because even then, you know, I'm sure people who are actual cybersecurity experts would probably raise their issues with the depiction, but what I'm thinking of here would be like if you play something like Exapunks, you'll see the developers have been pretty clear that one of the inspirations for it was the Stuxnet worm. And then if you play Hacknet or if you play Night Team 4, you spend a little bit more time in the console than maybe you would, maybe than what you would normally think of in a game that people would describe as fun. But this one definitely has a lot more sort of a GUI. It has a lot more sort of, we're telling a kind of cyberpunkish story, and this is a little bit more about sort of the fun parts of hacking while also including some mechanics to sort of make you feel like you're trying to get away with something. So a good example that I would give of this would be the idea of the traces, right? So you can go in, the game lets you break into a system, delete some files, steal some files, whatever you want to do for the mission. You will get to a certain point where you feel comfortable enough to do not comfortable enough, but like you get to a point where you fulfill your objective. Let's just say you completely crash the system or whatever, and you can imagine a version of the game where that's it, right? The system's taken down, your employer pays you, and you move on to the next mission. If you do that in Uplink, what happens is your connection will be traced. You sort of leave these breadcrumbs, which is why you want to route your connection through different servers. And if you don't touch if you don't break that chain, someone will investigate you and ultimately imprison you. Well, they don't actually imprison you. What they do is they sort of block your access to the gateway. So it's a game over. It's a single save, so you can't restore it. So it's a fun approach, and in this case, you've got sort of the idea here where you want to cover your tracks, right? You need to break the chain, but the way you like delete the logs is you get the log deleting program, and you click on the log you want to delete, and you do that, right? You're not spending the time thinking about. I've been spending I realize this is like a meme and a stereotype, but I have actually been trying to learn a little bit about Arch Linux and like why people are into it and what advantages it offers. So the just thinking about things like, okay, do you want to store your logs on a partition, or do you want to keep them somewhere else? What sorts of things would you want to log? How do you meaningfully sift through the logs so that if something bad happens, right? I fortunately, for probably more so for my employer than anyone else, I'm not a system administrator, but there is a certain point where sometimes it's fun to learn a little bit about the technology that you're using. And I tend to go over I tend to go in the deep end on most things. So the Arch wiki is definitely very comprehensive. Can you be very comprehensive, or can you just be comprehensive? Anyways, so yeah, with that in mind, there would be, you can see how you can really pick into the details of this sort of stuff, and you could probably make an interesting game out of it. But in this case here, what they've done is they've got a little bit of a cyberpunk setting. Definitely, time has passed, and so the setting is no longer the future. It's actually like, I think it's 2010, so like we're over a decade past the setting that was supposed to be the future. We're enjoying, like I said, our Hollywood hacking. But I think I've got what I need here. Let's move on. So one thing I'd forgotten was that it does actually give the news about your various activities. But there is a story to this game. So one of the top-ranking Uplink agents has broken the silence over the. Actually, you know what? We should have another Arc story here. Oh, here we go. Unusual hiring practices noticed by analysts. Andromeda Research Corporation, otherwise known as ARC, have been extremely busy lately. The company has been hiring all of the top Uplink agents for the past couple of weeks, sometimes posting several missions in one day. Details are thin, but it appears that the work done is very vague in nature. ARC are keeping quiet about the ultimate goal of this work, and all of the agents involved are sworn to secrecy. Analysts predict that ARC has spent over 50,000 credits in the last week alone on agent fees. At the time of this writing, ARC was unwilling to comment. So we carry on, and now high-ranking agent raises doubts over ARC. One of the top-ranking Uplink agents has broken the silence over the recent activity of ARC, Andromeda Research Corporation, and raised doubts over the morality of the work being done. The announcement comes less than a month after ARC began recruiting all the top agents for work on some unspecified project. The man in question, known as Agent Deathstalker, is one of the top-ranked agents in the world and is respected throughout the hacker community. He states, "We don't know anything about this company ARC. Some of the work that I've done for them is highly suspicious and could be used in a very destructive manner if properly exploited. ARC are relying on the unofficial code of honor of Uplink agents, that they won't discuss what they are working on. Someone needs to come forward and explain what this company is up to." Once again, ARC refused to comment, but did say that a press release was imminent. Hey, Starbright Knight, good to see you. And how long has it been? I could actually say that much for hanging out with you, but I always appreciate you stopping by the stream. But how long has it been since you last played Uplink? Because I did it the first time in years, last Wednesday, I think. Wonderful game, though. At least a decade ago. So probably around the time that 2010 was no longer in the future. Anyways, cheers. I'm definitely learning some things again, but all right. So we learned our Neuromancer rating suffers for doing some of the, and not hackery things. So prove a fellow employee is overrated, improve academic standing, qualifications for a wealthy professional. All of these seem to be outside, outside our expectations for Actually, yeah, no, I'll leave that for later. But outside of what I want in terms of the direction that I'm taking this run, this game requires good typing skills under pressure. I actually did forget while I was playing my sort of my private run. I forgot that there's a console. All right, 1,700 credits. This job has been assigned a uplink difficulty of 2. An uplink rating of beginner or above will be sufficient for automatic acceptance. I want more money. We'll give you 1870 because of your reputation. Agreed? 10% bonus. I'll take it. Take a minute here and see if there's anything new in the news. There is not. So let's see what we're working with here. Thank you for working for Moon Inc. Location Apollo Labs internal services machine. It gives me an IP. I need to delete Apodata 1437 to gigaquads. Destroy this data and all backups. Send notice of completion to internal@mooninc.net. So what I normally do here is I just save the sort of the relays. The one that's tied to the mission should be green. And fortunately, you can, if you cancel one, you can just add it to the end of the stack. So I actually quite like the way that they've set this up. So we've already got our trace tracker set up. Presumably these credentials are not going to work. Usually we lose them when we log out on a system we're being traced on. So, and then I just allocated the full CPU towards the breaker. So we've got 211 seconds. This should be very easy for us to do on time, but we're still going to treat this like a serious run. And again, I do apologize about the size of the items on the screen. If anybody wants me to describe something, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy to cover it. So 1437, there we go. Okay, so that's deleted. Now, normally I would do this somewhere else, but because we've got the time, we can go to the logs. Under security, go to log deleter. So as I was saying before, this is how you delete logs in this game. Just click on the program, then click on the log. Is it sad I remember the training computer's password? You played this a lot then. All right, and then I've got a bunch of routes here, so obviously these weren't a problem, but it always feels nice to sort of clear out the evidence. So if this, this by the way is not fully accurate. So is it Rosebud? Okay, that makes it a little easier to remember than if you've seen Citizen Kane. Yeah, once we get down to, say, like 30 seconds or something, I would maybe delete. Or not delete, I'd disconnect, but we've got plenty of time. Now, the reason why I haven't replied with the mission accomplished, I do have a little bit of a system in place to make sure that I don't do a boneheaded move. Use it as your easy access point to break the... Okay, that's cool. I used to do that, but I... For some reason, I switched to Internic at some point. Hey, DTG, how you doing? I am delighted at how many people are saying, you know, wow, blast from the past. Like, there's also a couple of people who saw this for the first time on Wednesday. So I'll just warn that one of the reasons I'm doing this tonight, I was really wanting to do Ace Attorney, but the reason why I went with this is that I am probably going to have to log off around 10 or 10:30. So I wanted something where I could sort of afford a more leisurely pace. Okay, so we don't have anything else to do on this system. We'll disconnect. Now I think this should be sufficient, but just to make sure that we're covered, I'll actually sort of show how both would work. So I don't know, we'll go through the Uplink International Bank to Internic. So here we already have an established password, got our access logs. So if somebody was looking for me, we could just take out the route here. And we're good. That would be sufficient to break the chain. At which point I send off the completion. Congratulations on your success. Funds transferred 1870. Thank you for working for Moon Incorporated. The other option, though, this is the one that Starbright Knight was talking about, is if we go to the test machine, stumble across this game, and it's like an OS upgrade mod per se. It was fun. It was a bit buggy on the OS mod. So I'm not sure what you mean by the OS OS mod, but so I don't think there's any real consequence for the trace here, but and then the funny thing is, oh, there we go. Connection terminated by remote host. Ah, gotcha. No, I think I understand, because I've seen in the options that there are like skins or whatever you can get for the game. One drawback is that the font's obviously quite small on this resolution, but this is what I could manage for the stream. So I really should take a look at some of the customization that they have for this. Okay, so let's go back, see if anything. Yeah, so same news. Go to the mission list. And again, there's some missions I'm not going to take, so we'll just fast. Oh. Uplink Corporation has deducted the Stanley monthly membership fee of 300 credits from your current account. We are confident you will agree that this represents incredible value for money, and wish you another successful and prosperous month with our organization. Thank you. So again, there's some missions that I don't want to do. While these are bouncing around, we'll take a quick look. There we go. Top Uplink agent reassures community. In a surprising development in the mystery of Andromeda Research Corporation, ARC, the #1 rated Uplink agent, has come forward and tried to reassure the community. This comes 2 days after Agent Deathstalker publicly expressed concern that ARC were hiring agents to work on some kind of weapon. The agent, known amongst the hacker community as Tempest, says in a statement that I have been working for ARC on a confidential project for the past 2 weeks. The project is immensely ambitious in nature, but is nothing to worry about. ARC have been keeping the public in the dark to protect their trade secrets. Uplink agents should not be afraid of accepting jobs from this company. Some people have said that they think ARC is building some kind of military weapon. I can say that I have had full access to the ARC Central mainframe for the past week, and there is nothing of the sort on the system. What they are doing is being kept under wraps, but it is definitely not a weapon. I mean, by my standards, this month was not... this month was fast, but... definitely were a stream and change in. It's really the waiting for the missions that is kind of the drag for me. But again, that's a choice that I'm making in terms of the missions I can take. Break into a rival computer system and sabotage the files. This job has been assigned an uplink difficulty of 2. So, more money. We are heading to Video Software Internal Services Machine. Alright, so, sorry, we're looking for 92699. And again, plenty of time on the timer here, so we'll go to the logs. And first priority is going to be to get rid of the evidence of the crime. But seeing as I've been using this to do a bunch of routing, we might as well tidy things up a little bit. And again, there's no... It's kind of like... I don't actually know fully how the searches in this go, but you'll notice I also delete things like logged in as admin and things like that. It's mostly just because I sort of imagine if I was looking at these logs, I may not be like great at computers, but I'm pretty sure if I see, you know, logged in as administrator, something bad has happened to my system. There's one deleted log, and you know, I'm gonna make a guess as to who did that. But not gonna lie, when I first played this, I had the thought cross my mind: what if this was a real hacking game as a front, and I'm really doing these jobs? No, it's not a dumb thought. I actually think that it's designed that way, because when you start the game, it just starts you connecting into the gateway machine. So again, like I'm not trying to like oversell the idea that, like, you know, people who are playing this were bamboozled into thinking that this was genuine hacking that they were doing, and that this Uplink company that they'd never heard of had somehow teleported them to the 2010s. You know, I think it was very specifically set up in such a way to sort of give you that little, you know, but what if it was kind of feeling. So I think what you experienced, Starbright Knight, is exactly what the developers intended through the way they presented it. And in fact, there's an interview with the developers on Soren Johnson's podcast Designer Notes, which one I just very much enjoyed listening to, but two, it definitely like it does the full story. So it starts with games like Uplink, and it sort of, they talk about what they were trying to do with it and how it sort of came about, because I believe this game predates Steam. And DTG says, won't lie, started with Hacknet, which was much more terminal based. Yeah, I've only played a little bit of Hacknet, but it definitely seems like my kind of game. So I'm just gonna say the job's done. All right, looks like we've got some good news here. So, congratulations on your success, 1540. Congratulations, Agent Rob Robinson. You have reached the next Uplink rating. Your rating is now intermediate, and your Neuromancer rating appears to have changed. It is now aggressive. So what were you saying about Hacknet? More terminal-based, but when I went back to this, it's like, wow, this feels like when the Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like, it feels like a hacking game is just one of those things where, like, you just have to do it, right? It's just one of those things where, you know, it's on a computer. There's a certain mystique behind it, you know. Even if it's not a movie about computers, you will sometimes have, like, you know, a hacker character. So, like, what is it, Lex in Jurassic Park, right? There's that. I don't know if it's a notorious scene, but, like, there's this scene where she's like logs into the computer, and you see sort of this 3D GUI, something unlike you'd ever see in any computer. I mean, I'm sure somebody has probably made something that looks like this now, and she says, like, it's a Unix system, and it's like, okay, right? You know, it's Spielberg. Spielberg's a smart filmmaker. He knows that if you actually show, you know, the shell, it's gonna look really tedious, or at the very least, you know, it draws an interesting contrast between the Samuel L. Jackson character and Lex, who is, like, doing something, you know, really kind of time sensitive. It's building a certain kind of tension, so you kind of have to do it visually. And there's other movies that have done it too, but, like, in the case of Jurassic Park, you know, the computers aren't really the point. The computers happen to be one device through which a lot of the stuff happens. But yeah, I mean, like, the thing is that, like, there's the mystique of the hacker in just our culture, and I mean this can go back to Neuromancer, this can go back to any number of different this can go back to any number of different points. And so it would make sense that you probably want to make a game that's giving you that feeling. But on the other hand, you also, you have a range of people who want to experience some different things. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Okay, an uplink rating of skilled or above will be sufficient for automatic acceptance. I'm curious about how secure is the target. Okay, you may encounter proxy servers or firewalls, and I don't believe I'm equipped for either of them. So I'm going to say no thanks for now, and instead trace a recent balance transfer. No, not at all, DTG. I'm running into the problem where I'm being a little incoherent. Now, I thought there was a notepad in this game. But what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to open up my notepad on my computer. So I'm just going to move the windows a little bit. And I'm going to take some notes here, because I have a feeling we're going to be able to do something fun on this one. All right, thank you for your time, Agent. How can we help? How secure is the target? There will be some defense in action. You may encounter proxy servers or firewalls. So I'll say, I want half the money now. I'm afraid we can't agree to that. I want more money. All right, I'll take it anyway. Yeah, so like I've got mail, so I guess I could like write a note to myself in an email. There's the financial tab. There's the ratings tab, so just, all my statuses and all that. I've got the memory banks here. And I've got my hardware. I can view the gateway itself. Now, it could be that there's... So decrypt or decipher, dictionary hacker, file copy, file delete, defrag, firewall bypass, disable, connection analysis, IRC client, map show trace, LAN view, lookup probe scan, spoof force, deleter, modifier, undeleter, monitor bypass, password breaker, proxy bypass, proxy disable, trace tracker, and voice analyzer. So even then, like, I don't know which of these would be the notepad program, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's not a big deal. I shockingly have a notepad on my own computer. All right, so here we got to trace a balance transfer. So first thing we're going to do is check out the Terminal Microsystems International Bank. In fact, one thing I'm going to do at the start is I'm not going to worry about... I'm just going to make a new account for myself. Rob. All right, your new account has been created. Okay, don't have any money. Actually, I should get these details, so... So I'm going to try something here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to transfer money to this other account. send one. The transfer was completed successfully. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, go to the log deleter. Denied access by proxy server. All right. I was a little worried about that. And in fact, I believe there are a couple things that I need to get to make that work. So let's go back to the internal services system. Ah. Well, I'm going to try at some point. Starbright Night. So one of the first things that I need to do is get the... So what I obviously want is the proxy bypass, but I actually need to find... I need to actually see the... I mean, I could also try the disable, but... Wow. 20K, huh? All right. Well, you know what? I'm just going to earn a little bit more money, and then we'll worry about trying to rob the bank. So this is going to be very, very loud. So it's Mark Shore. So I'm trying to sign in as him, and we need to find the receiver of the money. Okay, got 40 seconds. Okay, new statement. So the account number was 7468415, and then 9227557613333 was the destination bank. So I've got two reasons to go into this into Internet here. I've got two trace trackers, huh? So first we'll get rid of the routes. And then under no, not access logs, we're going to go to actually, I don't know if I can search by bank. Yeah. Well, that's fine, because if we just search bank. So one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually add all of the banks anyway. But what we're specifically looking for here is Zion Labs International Bank. I definitely feel like I added more banks than I'm clicking on right now. Okay, this'll do. So we're going to do the same thing that we did before. So actually, you know what? Let's not do this at the same time. So the account that we know is 7468415. We don't know the code. So we go to the password breaker. Okay, 50 seconds. And I just need the name. Okay. Duncan Mundy. So that's the mission. But obviously we're gonna clean up our tracks first. Damn it. Okay, and here 5,900. You feel like you're in a hospital with this game sometime. What do you, what makes you say that, Starbright? Okay, so I'm gonna take a quick second here and just make a whole bunch of bank accounts. So this one is, oh, gotcha. This is Starbright Knight's account. That's not the one I wanted. I am now. So this one is DTG 16s. All right. I was worried about that. So as far as I can tell, there's no real cost to doing this. It's only if you let it go over the month. Your credit's gonna suck, but we'll be rich. Yeah, so I mean, I've got the 20K that I need for the start. Well, that's fine. You know what? We'll work our way up. So, by the connection analysis, I don't believe there's a higher version. So the next thing I want to do is a proxy bypass. Now, I actually have a few options. So if I go to Uplink International Bank, right, and I take a look at that, there's actually two things here. So the proxy is the thing that I worry about the most. The monitor would be nice to bypass. Now, it doesn't tell me the level of the proxy, does it? That's no good, because I believe the proxy bypass is actually quite expensive. The primary purpose of the proxy server is to stop unauthorized users from modifying records or logs. A system with a good proxy server will permit you to examine records and logs, but will not allow you to change them. As such, you will not be able to remove any of the logs of your actions, nor will you be able to make any alterations to any records on the target system. Proxy servers are extremely popular on government data systems, such as the Social Security database and other systems where the data itself is sensitive. They can be bypassed simply by disabling them on the target computer, which will typically require admin access, or by running the proxy disable tool. Both of these methods will cause you to get noticed. You can also bypass them silently with more advanced software tools and a connection analyzer. Okay, so one challenge is I'm not really sure how much... I'm not really sure how high the proxy level is going to be. So proxy bypass will go up to 20k for version 5, but if I want a proxy disable, it'll only cost me 10k. So let's shoot for the 10k, because I think you already know where this is going. All right, so I don't know if finding financial data is part of the dark arts, but it's 5,900 for both of these, which gets me the proxy deleter. I want more money. All right, what are we looking at here? High-speed microsystems international bank. And he is looking for the size of the loan. Yeah, so you definitely get noticed if you disable the proxy, but the thing is that the thing I want to do is actually pretty fast. Okay. Oh no! Again, clean up my tracks before I say the job's done. Money! All right. Back to our missions. Worst negotiator in the world. All right. Back to high-speed microsystems. So they're looking for atom joins, and they want to know his balance. Okay, so 2377. Disconnect. Anyone remember how much the amount was? So, I mean, one option that I do have is to, just try and wait for a couple more of these and get the kind of the full strength proxy bypass. But there is something kind of fun about the idea of like buying the thing to hack the system to try and rob the bank. Wait a minute. Why do you have 4,000? Yeah, so we're gonna see if I can improve my lot in life through theft. It has come to our attention that your bank account below has been overdrawn without authorization. As a result of this action, you are legally required to pay a fine to the following account. Failure to pay this fine before that due date could result in imprisonment. This really is cyberpunk. All right, so... Oh, I know what went wrong. Oh, hang on. Why did they let me overdraw it? Okay. It's how the banks make their money. Payment of your fine has been received for the following offense. It has come to our attention that your bank account has gone overdrawn without authorization. All right. So I'm slightly poorer for all of that, but now we get to do some real crimes. So, we're looking for Duncan Mundy's account. I believe that was the Zion Labs 922. Yep. So remembering here that I don't need to, I should just be able to get by with, logging in. How you doing, Lord Gloom? All right, good start. I don't know how I feel about this. Okay, here's what I'm going to do as a test. So as soon as I try to put the money to my own account, I better hope I've got this right. Because, oh, you know what? I probably didn't even need the connection analyzer. Oh my god, this is so slow. Okay. So that was the trial run. I can't remember, Lord Gloom. Have you played this? You have not. All right. Well, you're about to learn how to rob a bank. Now, this is... I don't believe this was ever taught in the game. I think this was just something that you kind of figured out, you know, by having a criminal mind. Oh, go to hell! Unless the proxy's already disabled. Better not risk it. Okay. I'll maybe try changing it up a little bit. Yeah, they're hopping mad. All right, we're going for it. Okay, we're gonna send this to... No, this is not gonna work. Crap. Oh, I've really gone and done it now. So it just occurred to me I'm going to need to spend all of that time disabling the proxy. So good idea in principle, but unless I have the time to actually disable the well... I don't feel brave enough to try that. Yeah, I think we're gonna wait for another opportunity. It's quite a few Zion. Now I can see why they're a bit mad. Yeah, Hacknet's coming up quite a bit, actually. So the big one for me was Night Team 4, is one that I spent a lot of time in. There we go. Tom Scott at Hummingbird Microsystems. Where's my little green dot? Okay, so this one's about establishing where the money went. Okay, yeah, no, it was definitely, I thought it was a good one. Okay, so we've got 90,000. And the account number 3790801. 30 seconds to go, so we're safe. Okay, so there's going to be two parts to this one. So first thing I need to do is find out which one is 632. Hummingbird Microsystems. Okay. That'll make it a little tricky, but... And we are looking for the name. Oh yeah, NITE Team 4. Yeah, that developer is quite good at sort of the ARG style game. Okay, Dan. Oh crap. Cover our traces. Open Sorcery, I've never heard of that one. Okay, so cache-wise, we're still pretty far off from where I want to be, but what we should be able to do now is access Hummingbird Systems. So notice there's no trace going on right now, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to manage an existing account. So we want Dan Hornibrook's account, so that's 379. Okay, no trace going on yet. That's the important part here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the proxy disable. That can just do its thing. And while we do that, I'm going to start the transfer. All right. So now we're getting a little scared. Okay, gotta wait for the proxy. Okay, done. So now we need to get rid of the... Okay, so now we disconnect. So first thing I'm going to do Oh, crap. All right, sorry. BELS is an elemental firewall, a fire elemental bound with C++ code to protect a network of people and places. She can learn things, develop relationships, and even gain sapience, or she can burn everything with fire. It's up to you. That's open sorcery? All right, now I'm very curious. One thing I didn't work out actually was I forgot to check which bank I deposited this in, but it was, wait, it can't be Uplink. 114, I think, was Terminal Microsystems. Okay, so... So this is all about getting rid of the statement. Okay. Congratulations, Rob Robinson. You have reached the next Uplink ranking. Your rating is now uber skilled. I think that means the hack worked. Time to go shopping. Okay, so there's a couple things I want to get. I really shouldn't have done that until I bought the replacement. So there's going to be, I'm going to try and do a couple of steps here. So first of all, we'll do the proxy bypass. And the next thing I'll do is the monitor bypass. Actually, you know what? While I'm at it, let's get we'll get a couple of other goodies. So firewall seems to make sense. Let me just make sure I've got the space. Yeah, we can buy some goodies too. I won't worry about the land stuff quite yet. Alright, that's a good start. So, let's also upgrade our gateway. Now, I'm actually not 100% sure. I do sometimes like the idea of the parallel supercomputer because I can get 16 CPUs out of this thing. But the bandwidth is 4. So I think in this case, so I can get... And then the file server has an even higher bandwidth. So there's a side of me that says, like, the Omega Parallel is probably the one that I really want, but I'll just go for the most expensive and buy the Trinity. So the best all-around gateway money can buy. So we'll run that upgrade. You have chosen to part exchange your current gateway for the Trinity 1686A gateway. If you choose to proceed, the money will be deducted from your account and the Uplink Corporation will prepare your new gateway. We will install identical hardware in your new gateway and we will copy your memory banks from your current system to your new system. This process will take around 24 hours. After this time, you will have to log off from the net and log back in again. You will then be rerouted to your new gateway, and your old one will be immediately dismantled. The exchange will cost you 113,750 credits. Click Proceed to continue or cancel to abort. And while I'm at it, so I figure I can do a couple of other upgrades, so let's at least fill in the last few details here. So hardware upgrades, we should be able to get turbo CPU. I don't remember. Well, you know what? We'll skip the modem for now, but I can get another 8 for memory. No word about the bank hacks yet, so that's good. All right. I believe it was Duncan Monday. And that was at 922-755-761. That's got to be Zion, right. Hard mode. Okay, so they're not freaking out the second that I show up here. That's positive. But the nice thing here is that the bypasses are considerably more gentle. They're also instantaneous, which is nice. So this should also buy me some time. Okay. Nothing too scary yet. Gotta get my notepad back up though. Let's not put it in that one. I messed up. I also didn't work out how much money this guy's got. Oh, yes I did. And the last step. Oh, that's not good. I guess the monitor doesn't really matter at this point, but... So normally here I would have deleted all of this stuff, but I don't want to mess around at all with the trace. I'm very nervous that there's some kind of route that I'm not seeing here. I probably shouldn't be worried about it because it just said that I'm elite. Alright, so... no idea why I went there. Alright. Well, I know why I accidentally clicked on it. But yeah, suffice to say, money is not a major concern for us right now. So... let's see if we can find some more fun jobs to do while we, find financial details, destroy customer records. That works. Payment for this job is 10,000 credits. This job has been assigned an uplink difficulty of... you know what? Let's actually try... so, okay, so we've got 7... yeah, let's go for destruction. Secure is the target. We expect security to be high. Okay, I want more money. Okay, so they want the central mainframe. However, I suspect in this case, if it's the central mainframe, it won't accept any old connection. So let's go Electronica. I'm gonna do two things actually. So we'll go to the public access server and the internal services machine. So we'll start with the public access server, and this is partly... I actually don't remember if it does that, but I know you can destroy your machine, so I imagine dismantling the old computer would work as well. So I'm gonna bring in the administrator here. So this is purely precautionary, but I'm gonna take the voice analyzer because sometimes you do need the voice input. Okay, voice analysis complete. So we can kill him from the list. Public access. Internal services. And then there should be the green one. Have I gone nuts? Central mainframe. It says, oh, here we go. Okay. So there's the voice print identification. That's exactly why we wanted to do that. So before we do anything, we want to bypass the monitor and such. And it probably wouldn't hurt for me to double check what the mission is again. We're becoming tired of the competition provided by a rival firm and have decided to put an end to their activities. Break into their main computer system, IP below, and destroy all the files in their system. It would be in your interest to remove any traces of your actions, as the company will not be pleased when they discover what you have done.
Hello. I am the system administrator. My voice is my passport. Verify me.
Okay, and then we've got the user ID password verification. So this is the good old-fashioned password breaker. Don't really have any good way around this, so this will probably alert the system at some point. Notice it didn't go right away, and that's, I believe, due to the monitor bypass. But it's not permanent stealth. Now, I did say that there's, like, I should be careful and say there is actually a console part in here. If you ever need to know, you can actually type help, but I know how to do this. So if we do delete, that'll take care of all of it for me. So really here we just need to make sure that we get this done within the 120 seconds. In fact, I can actually put the power back to the trace tracker. I don't think we really need that precision, but you never know. Now, I believe if it doesn't complete the full, like if you get booted off before this completes, I believe you need to delete everything again. I don't think a partial deletion actually works. So, unlike Unix in that sense. But once it's done, you can do exit. And just for security, too slow. I'll wait till I get my new computer. So I'm going to need the 24 hours for the computer, but I'm also going to need the time for to buy the processors as well. We'll just let it do its thing. Oh, wrong one. Oh, hang on. I think this will say it's not completed. Yeah, we have not heard word yet that the damage has been done. So, this is one of the fun ones where turns out it's not enough to just do the damage. You actually need to go... You don't actually need to watch this happen, but... So you go to the news, and you will be able to... You'll be able to reply and get paid as soon as this shows up in the news. So, you know, you can just fast forward and then hit reply whenever you feel like it, or you can, you know, hover by the inbox and see what's going on. But in this case, like, we got other stuff to do. So I don't know if I've ever tried the copy the proprietary source code one. I've definitely been doing more destruction. So destroy rival software in development would be an example of that. It may not surprise you that trace a hacker who recently broke into our systems will not help your Neuromancer rating. But yeah, what I'll probably do while waiting for the machine, I might as well just raise hell. The only thing I'm a little worried about is that some of these may be on a LAN, and I'm not really equipped to do a LAN just based on the amount of space that I have. But then again, you know, there's nothing stopping me from fast forwarding once I get to those and moving on. And doing the upgrade. But I can, you know, that can be a tomorrow me problem. But yeah, like I said, this was going to be a bit of a shorter one, so are there any questions about Uplink or any of the other, details on this? Again, I apologize for the lack of detail in terms of the notes or anything like that. Seen some warnings of lands. They're a little, I don't want to say they're like confusing. I'll confess there have been a couple of cases where I try to I try to open some of the locks and it doesn't quite seem to follow the logic that it's written out, but I suspect that's probably just a misunderstanding on my part. The thing is that, like, at this point here, like, the idea that you can do the bank robbery, that's fun. Like, I don't just like the fact that you can do the bank robbery, but I like the fact that they very clearly left that there for you to do, and if you do it, you get, like, an elite rating. And again, I'm going to assume that maybe some of the charm of this goes away when you, like, have Steam guides or something like that, but I kind of like the fact that this exists in this game. The only drawback about it is that, like, I cannot see a situation where I'm ever going to actually need to do any of these missions to do the missions, right? I'm really at this point just wanting to do the main story, which is, you know, because I've been playing at the normal speed, it's been slowly unfolding, so all of this stuff about ARC, right, the high-ranking agent, the top Uplink agent, and all of that, those are tied to the story, but the story will begin when a certain piece of mail arrives in my inbox. As far as ratings are concerned, yeah, we can actually do that on the internal services. So Rob Robinson is now number 1, Tempest is a mere number 2, and Deathstalker takes the bronze. But anyways. So yeah, I mean, again, the bank robbing stuff is kind of fun. I imagine that, you know, it'd be a little bit, hey, Vanguard Master, I'm actually wrapping up, but thank you for stopping by. You know, I imagine at this point, you know, if you wanted to, if you know how to rob the banks, maybe one of the challenges that you do, a little bit like how I'll do Book of Hours a couple of different times, and you know, not take advantage of something that I think makes it a little bit easier. I imagine that you can do like an uplink run where you don't rob a bank, but in fairness, I had a broad idea of how to do it, but I wasn't 100% sure that was going to work. I don't think I've ever actually used the proxy disable. I think I've only ever used the bypasses. I'm glad to hear that, Vanguard Master, because the drawback is, right, like, I'm doing this from an outside perspective, and of course, I'm sure you notice there's a lot of, like, considers, and you may want to think about, because, you know, especially the stuff, like, about Valheim, it's really there to, as you say, to provoke thought. It's not necessarily there to change your vision, but it's more to sort of acknowledge, here are some potential things that you may, like, you may run into, and even if someone doesn't say it in in so many words, you're probably going to want to at least answer this for yourself, because answering that will tell you more about this game. It's funny because in the writers group, I can't attend the writers group tomorrow, but I did give him a quick email just saying, like, if you want to share this with the group, you can, but it was about sort of endings, and I kind of tried to say, you know, this may not make sense in terms of the analogy, but it's the idea that we're doing this hot potato exercise where people write like 500 words of a 3,000 word story in chunks, and you don't know what you're getting. And so I sort of say, you know, going all the way back to Aristotle's Poetics, there's this idea that a good ending for a story is both surprising but inevitable. And if you're of a certain temperament, and I'm definitely of that temperament, I immediately think of, like, twist endings for that. But that's not the only way to think about it. There's a lot of very good endings to stories that would not count as twist endings, right? They're not like Philip K. Dick stories. And yet it would be fair to say that it is a surprising and inevitable ending. So where does that gap come from? If it's not about sort of the plot and the big twist at the end, what is it that makes these other endings so satisfying? And I guess the thing that I wasn't really accounting for when I first sort of thought about that heuristic, and again, that's not like that's a hardcore rule. Like, just because Aristotle wrote something like that doesn't mean that it's right. You know, Aristotle was definitely not right about a lot of things. But in fact, I think there's a very large part of human intellectual endeavor, which is basically talking about how Aristotle was wrong. But anyways, the the missing link for me was the fact that stories are also about characters, right? And even if you have a very avant-garde, very spectacular kind of story, which is all about world building, you still have, someone who wants something. In fact, Wim Wenders was originally intending to do a very sort of avant-garde sort of film. And the story he tells is that when he was shooting a subway, there was somebody who sort of like ran across the platform, jumped over the tracks, and ran on, like just kind of ran through the other part of the building. And no explanation why. He wasn't being chased by anybody, just something he did, something he caught on film. And he realized that it would be impossible to put that shot in his movie, at least the movie he intended to make, because people would immediately assume that that was the main character and that they would see that person again. And, like it could even be at the very end of the film and people would be like, okay, finally this thing's getting ready to go. And there would be expectations in terms of a narrative. So, even in kind of the most, in some of the most extreme or some of the most like really, really out there stories, you're just going to have a character, whether you want it or not. And so the point that I kind of made on this is that the surprising but inevitable very often can deal with not just a character's motives, but their kind of unconscious desires. So, and again, nobody's asking me to write things professionally, so this is just an opinion on it, but it's something I kind of wanted to share with the group in light of this exercise that we've been doing. So I'll maybe say for like a conventional story, right, you have sort of the main stuff that you think is at stake. But very often there's going to be some sort of unspoken part. In fact, very often this stuff isn't necessarily made explicit inside of a story, but I guess there's the idea of what you wanted all along, even if you didn't realize. And the analogy that I might draw here would be, I was watching a broadcaster who I'm quite fond of, Katako. She's been doing a lot of work on YouTube as well, so she'll stream both on Twitch and on YouTube at the same time. And what's happened on YouTube, she's a Australian, woman, married, has kids, not necessarily a parent on the stream, not an unattractive person at all, and so inevitably you're going to have people running into chat wanting to get to know her, wanting to date her, asking what her OnlyFans are, all the sort of stuff that you'd normally expect from gamers seeing a woman on the internet. And the thing is that, like, if you think of this idea of the conscious desire, right, there are a lot of people in this world who genuinely think that their life would be better if only they could date their favorite influencer. Despite the fact that I think any of us looking from the outside looking at this would say that this is almost certainly the worst possible thing that could happen to this person. Right? What this person actually needs is not to have every last wish fulfilled, but rather, still haven't talked my way to the the end of the mission. What they need to realize is that there is a difference between the presentation, the influencer, and realize that this is actually somebody that they don't know, to maybe look in their own real world, find worth, find value, have some hobbies, be the sort of person who's worth, going out with. And this, of course, will lead to a much more fulfilling life, and also will mean that, the poor influencer isn't going to be bothered. But again, when it comes down to, that unconscious desire, that's not what the character would say, right? This is the sort of thing that the story will largely hinge on whether or not this character is actually able to realize that they are stuck in a particularly unhelpful frame of mind. Probably a tragedy would be about somebody who seems on the verge of being able to make that change, and maybe, I don't know, streamers mean to them online, and so they fall back into their own old ways or whatever. And then, a better or more thoughtful story might be something where they're able to overcome that, or, you could probably make a comedy around some of these ideas as well. Obviously, there's lots of room for stories for all sorts of different things, but the point that I kind of wanted to make is that in the context of doing a story where there's sort of 6 sets of hands that have worked on a given story, there are people who are kind of trying to acknowledge what the people have done before, but in the end, the characters' motivations are a little bit like our motivations, right? We very often will do things and sort of rationalize them after the fact, rather than say that this was part of some like grand strategy over the course of, you know, our lifetimes. In some cases, we're just doing improv and kind of hoping that most of this turns out. So to a certain extent, characters in this hot potato exercise may reflect real-life characters. But of course, we don't read stories so that we can get real life. We read stories which are supposed to have some sort of meaning. We don't have, hey, I'm actually wrapping up pretty soon, but very nice to see you as always. I was planning on being done at 10:30, no later than 10:30, but I'm giving a belabored explanation to Vanguard Master, which hopefully is interesting to everybody else as well in terms of story structure. Yeah, so this idea here, right, is that you've got these characters in these stories that are the product of lots of different people sort of pushing the story forward the way that they want and trying to make sense of what came before them, particularly if they're not necessarily stories that they like or would write for themselves. And so I sort of tried to point out that at the end of the hot potato exercise, there's a really wonderful opportunity for a writer who wants to kind of take this angle on the idea of surprising but inevitable. That you should respect what the previous writers have done by, you know, not just conveniently sweeping under the rug what happened before, right? It was all a dream or whatever. But they're also going to be the one with the benefit of having all of the knowledge of everything this character has ever done, right? These are fictional characters. They have only ever done the things that are on the page, or, you know, at least within the final writer's mind that they want to bring onto that page. There's no other information. And so ultimately what the final writer is able to do is they're able to find that coherence, that single thread throughout the story. Every single one of those moments that didn't necessarily feel like it, or didn't feel like it belonged, all of those can be put towards some sort of an ending. So the surprise comes from the fact that you have 6 different people, all of who had different intentions in writing their particular sections. The inevitability comes through the final writer's ability to string those together into sort of this coherent whole, right? The sort of way that, you know, life is sort of best understood backwards, but we're forced to live it forwards. And if you can kind of master that, first of all, it'll probably make you better at your own stories when you have that sort of unity in terms of purpose, but maybe you're still discovering the story as you're writing it. But in the other sense, it also gives you the opportunity to take a fairly difficult assignment, which is how to write an ending for something that you wouldn't necessarily have assembled all those parts together. And what I've tended to find is that there's always something kind of interesting just lurking under the surface. And I've very often found that those moments that sort of sag, those moments where, like, I definitely ran into one where someone just obviously wanted to do their world building. And it's like, okay, apparently we're going to use a 6th of this story to establish a world that doesn't exist and we will never return to again, but fair enough, now we've got, this magical realm. All of those moments that sort of frustrate me, if I really want to do well, I will take those and I will find some way of saying, so why is it essential that this was in this story? And if you can kind of spin that with the themes that you're interested in, the story overall is quite satisfying. But in any case, that's a long way of introducing the idea for Vanguard Master that it's one of these ideas where going through that process, even if you don't get asked the specific question, or even if somebody didn't necessarily say, it's like, I wonder what the motivation of that one, character that was a throwaway character in the first section. Being able to answer that for yourself, in my view, is the path to being able to sort of have something solid enough that if somebody throws you an unexpected question, the process of having had to think through that will usually take you to the most useful spot. Anyways, for those of you who are here for Uplink or just joined me, I must apologize because I did want to go to bed about 15 minutes ago. I'm obviously responsible for my own my own extended time at the end here, but I wanted to at least engage with as many of you as I could before wrapping up. So just a reminder, I did want to do more Ace Attorney tonight, but because I needed to wrap up early because of work, I only had an hour to stream, I guess an hour and a half now, and it seemed better to do some uplink rather than just sort of take a nod to Ace Attorney. I do intend to return to Ace Attorney. If I can swing it in terms of time, I will do that tomorrow. I think, though, the stuff that I need to be at work early for sort of ends Thursday, so I suspect that it will be better for me to just do things that... Again, I'll see if I can swing Ace Attorney on Wednesday. I will definitely be back with it on Monday. And if we feel like Uplink, it seems that people enjoy Uplink, we can do that on Wednesday. Or we might do Uncle Chop's Rocket Shop, or just something that's a good sort of one-off to make sure that I am able to get enough sleep, as well as handle the stream. I will say though, one nice thing though is with the early starts, I will also probably be getting home earlier. So if I can get home on time, we should still have enough time to do a proper Ace Attorney stream. So I'm not ruling it out. I just wanted to kind of warn people ahead of time because I don't like making commitments and then not following through on it. Anyways, let's take a quick minute here and see who is online. This is odd. Normally I have somebody I can host. All right. I'm sorry, comrades. I got nobody to host tonight. So thank you very much for hanging out. I'm sorry to keep it so short, but I am looking forward to doing this again. I'm also looking forward to doing Ace Attorney. So, anyways, cheerio. Have a good night, everybody.